Hi everyone, this is James from Titan Drones. Today I want to go over our new switch antenna system. All right, the number one question we get on a daily basis is, should I choose the Atlas or should I choose the Cyclone antenna system? So we've been working on a couple different solutions to try to give you, I guess, the best of both worlds. As you know, there's different scenarios to use Omni versus directional. And we've sold it as two separate systems, but I think we finally came up with a fairly easy solution to tackle this problem, and that's where the switch comes from. All right, so if you look at this setup here, this is obviously a Mavic controller. I have put a tablet mount on there to try out. It actually kind of balances it nicely. But if you look at the front here, you're probably used to seeing this with our Atlas. With a couple minor changes. Number one, the emblem is up a little bit higher, and that is to make room for this new T-lock on the bottom. If you're familiar with all of our systems, you're familiar with the T-lock. So right now in this current configuration, the switch pretty much looks like the Atlas, and it functions identical to the Atlas. All right, in its current configuration, this has omnidirectionals connected to the switch panel. This is, in this scenario, you'll use this when you have physical obstructions close to you, like buildings or trees. That dome of radiation has a better capability of getting some signal between the foliage and the trees, or maybe between the buildings when you have to fly behind them, or basically in areas where a directional signal will bounce off of that physical obstruction if it's too close to the antenna. So that's when we like to use omnidirectional antennas. All right, whenever you feel like you need directional amplified capability, that is when you will take off the whip antennas here. They just snap on, snap off, and you're left with this here. So as you probably figured out by now, solution we came up with is pretty simple. If you already have a control antenna, you're already ready to go, but you just snap your cables on the front here. So and then you can take your control antenna, which is basically a non-amplified directional antenna, and you can twist it on. Just twist on like that. Then underneath, obviously you'll make your connections. And you're left with that. So it's not too bad, actually. When you have a tablet mount, it's pretty well balanced. And that antenna in the front, only weighs in somewhere around 6 ounces or so. So you're not adding much weight to the front. Now you have basically the same components as you would in, let's say, our Cyclone. So you have amplified directional capability. All right, so I think now we can see that the switch kind of fills the gap between what the Atlas can do and what the Cyclone can do. Now you have the capability of doing both, but also remember that you have the capability of putting the antennas directly onto the RC themselves. So to do that, obviously you just twist off your antenna. You can take off your connectors in the front. And go ahead and unsnap your switch panel, twist it off. And you all are familiar with our mod kit and what it looks like. So now you have a couple options. First, you don't need to fly with amplification all the time. Or if you do, then you can. But if not, you can always just snap the whips on. And we always say snap the whips on, for everyday flying. You want to go out and just fly in the backyard. You don't need a lot of setup. And there you go. And obviously these are higher gain antennas than what you get stock. But this is made to replace the factory antennas. A lot of people swear by them, but the intent of these was to replace the factory antennas whenever you wanted non-amplified omnidirectional capability. All right, now let's say that you want to fly with a little bit more directional antenna, but you may not need amplification, or you have a little bit more open area before the physical obstructions start. You just want to fly with a directional antenna. That's where the control antenna comes into play. And you can equate this control antenna to kind of what the other ones that you see out there on the market. We just feel ours is a little bit smaller, a little bit sleeker, and we're happy with the performance of it. In this scenario, you would just snap it on, and now basically you have unamped directional capabilities. All right, one thing I wanted to stress is that once you modify your remote controller, you can interface with all of our systems. Anything Phantom 3 Advanced and above, our systems will pretty much work with, unless you have a dedicated 5.8 system from us. That'll only work obviously on your Phantom 4 Pro, your Inspire 2, or your Matrice 200 series. So anyway, I brought this remote out just to show you that if you have a Phantom, if you have an Inspire, you have the same capability here. If you want to get a mod kit for that aircraft and switch your antennas, I mean, you're literally talking about less than 10 seconds to switch back and forth. And when you get the switch antenna system, remember that it comes with a flat panel, and it comes with your whips as well. So you may be flying amplified directional on one. If you need, fly an Omni on another one, just know you have that capability. You don't have to, buy a complete antenna system for each and every single RC you have. Although I'd like you to do that, it is definitely not required. So take this remote here, and obviously you can snap on your whips, or you can snap on your directional antenna, twist on your directional antenna like I just showed you on the Mavic RC. But just wanted to show you using the same system on this RC. You'll take your switch panel, twist it on, make your connections in the back. And I did that pretty slow, and I think that was less than 10 seconds. And then let's say you want to fly amplified directional, pretty much give you the capabilities of something like our Cyclone. Snap your antennas on. Twist on, and then make your connections. All right, looks like that. I have to admit, I was kind of concerned about the the antenna on the bottom there, but it looks good. I think it's well balanced with an iPad, and plus, ever since they came out with that patch antenna for the Sindents, I kind of borrowed that theory as well, and it kind of helps because most customers have a tendency of taking a directional antenna and pointing it too high. So this kind of helps with that as well. I like to keep mine, more parallel with the ground. But anyway, once you get a directional panel and practice aiming, you'll figure it out in a flight or two. So anyway, that's what it looks like on a Phantom or an Inspire controller. All right, so this is pretty much the core of what you get with the switch antenna system. Obviously, you'll also get a wall charger, and you will also get the mod kit based on whichever aircraft you select. And for those of you that don't have any of our systems, the back of this panel may not look familiar to you, but I'll go over it briefly. Here's your charging port here. So your your amplifiers and your battery are built into this system. You're basically going to charge your whole antenna when you're finished flying for the day. You're good for about 6 to 10 flights, depending on which aircraft you have. When you flip the switch, you can either flip it to the left, middle is off, or flip it to the right. We do that because this switch is a nice, robust switch. We haven't had any issues with this, and for commonality in parts with some other products that we make. So this is your voltage display. If you'll notice, it should always say L3 when it comes on. That's the proper sensitivity setting. And this one just happens to be at 59%. You can also depress this small button here. I recommend like a paper clip or something. Push that and you can also go to voltage. If you do operate off of voltage, I like to run my antenna until it gets down to the low 10s before I charge it. But you know, that's up to you. These amps will technically run on anywhere between 6 and 12 volts, 6 to 16 actually, but there's a 12 volt in there, so anywhere between 6 and 12. But anytime it gets less than 10, you know, I just like to put on the charger, because I think now we will have some other antennas as well that you'll be able to use with this system, so we're kind of future proofing it for you. We do already have some higher gain whip antennas that you can purchase, and you will be asked at checkout if you wanted to purchase an additional set. And then we can also make some higher gain directional panels. Your switch will come with a linear polarized. Now, we haven't done a linear polarized single patch. We've done a linear polarized using our Conquer antenna system. But we will now have linear polarized. I'll probably put an option on there in case if you want circular polarized. There's no price difference, but if you want circular polarized in your kit rather than linear polarized, by all means you can do that. But linear polarized has been doing really well for us in testing, so I'm going to throw that into the kit. And then those of you who have the control antenna that has circular polarized patches, obviously you can use that as well. This has probably been doing a great job for you as well. We'll probably do something like a quad patch linear, but again, you'll be able to twist those on to this existing system called the switch. Once again, this is James with Titan Drones. This is the new Titan switch antenna system, and we hope you guys enjoy.